Hello everybody. It is 5:58 p.m. Central Time on November 7th, 2016. And guys, it is the day before the supposed end. All things are coming to an end. I don't know what's going on. We've got craziness going on here in the US. I'm just joking around on coming to an end, but I just wanted to jump on here, do a display capture, show you guys this earthquake that people are talking about. Now, this is recorded by the Hydrometeorological and Seismological Service of Montenegro. Now, Montenegro is north of Algeria. North of Albania, south of Bosnia. And their earthquake agency is reporting an earthquake in Turkey at 310 kilometers depth today at 2142 UTC, 4.5 magnitude. You can see it marked on the map here, okay? But we'll go over to the Turkish agency, and this is showing us all the earthquakes recorded by the Turkish agency. And you'll notice there are no 4.0s marked up there. And then you click on this. This is a 3 from yesterday, from the 6th. So, an entirely different earthquake. They don't have it marked. All right. Now, if you go over to the European agency, they don't have, at least last time I checked, they didn't have anything for a deep earthquake down below Turkey. But let's just check to make sure. Again, I like to, know as opposed to just guessing. So let's go click on For Seismologists and go to our data contributions. And, okay, let's go down this list. And what we're looking for here is Turkey. And we need to look for something. Look at this. They do have it, but they don't have a magnitude listed. 310. See that? 310 right here? That's depth. They do have it. Okay, stations. What do we have showing up? Do we even have magnitudes listed? No. No magnitude information. Depth 310 kilometers. Okay, so where's that coming from? Oh, Montenegro. Okay, so the only reporting agency on that is in Montenegro. Now check this out. Siberia, Russia struck. Rajasthan, India struck by a 5.3. Let's go ahead and pull these coordinates here. Go see where this is in India. I'm curious. A lot of earthquakes, guys, not showing up on today's maps. Put up for seismologist review, but not showing on the maps. I don't know. Well. Look where it struck. Right along the edge of the craton. Southwest or West India. Now, where did we talk about last night? We talked about North India. We talked about the plate boundary up here to the north. Oh, wow. Let's go down the list, see what else we got here. There's got to be some other ones on here. 6.0 in Sumatra. Not just a 5.6, but a 6.0, 5.9 showing. What else do we have going on here? South America earthquake. Okay, anything else? Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Indonesia, Fiji, New Zealand 5.2. Okay, that was reported as a 4.8. Okay, Central Italy, there's that 4 that struck in Central Italy, 4.1. Argentina. All right, we're getting down to page 2. I just want to make sure. I want to see if there's anything standing out that we don't have on the map, aside from the multiples that we're already seeing not be reported. This is no fault of the EMSC. Again, guys, there's probably many reasons why they don't report to us the earthquakes that you would expect to see. for instance, a 5.2 in Uzbekistan today? Well, Uzbekistan, let's go pull it up. Where did this 5.2 strike? First of all, do we have anything in Uzbekistan today? No. Okay, well, let's go put the coordinates in. 5.2. That's another Siberia earthquake, guys. Boy, oh boy, that's another Russia earthquake not reported today. So we have a 5.6, 5.7 up in Siberia, up here. Where? Right here? Yeah, 5.7 here. And a 5.2 now down in Uzbekistan. And a 5 off the coast or along the western portion of India, not the coast, the Craton boundary. That's 3 5s striking today. Put up for seismologist review so you can review the information. Let's go review it. Okay, well, there's not many stations there reporting. And we've got a magnitude 5.1 reported. Well, where did the 5.2 come from? Interesting. Okay, and keep going down the list, and we can do this all day long and go compare the locations, but now you understand we got major movement happening halfway across, as we would expect, guys. Excuse me. As I told you guys last night, that we would see a dramatic increase of earthquake activity where? Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, across Nepal, and into China. And I even mentioned Siberia. I mentioned Siberia, guys. I even talked about Siberia and how as the crow flies and all this other good stuff. Well, now Siberia's been hit. Rare earthquake activity. India's been hit. But you don't see them on any of your feeds. You'd think it was quiet today there, you know, and I had nothing going on there. No big deal except for a bunch of 5s striking that are being ignored by the agencies for some reason. Russia, India, no reports. Deep earthquake down below Turkey, no report, 4.5? Oh man, or no map report. It's put up for seismologist review. So, what is a deep earthquake down below? Okay, did it occur? Again, this is the proverbial, if a bear craps in the woods, does it make a sound? If a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? Well, yes, but nobody hears it, right? Well, in this case, we have a deep earthquake happening down below Turkey. If it's real, again, this sucks so hard that I have to even, then I have to go to the Montenegro agency to find out, is it real? Isn't it? I don't know. Oh my God. Well, if it's real, then we're going to have a shallower, larger earthquake. That'll be your proof that it was real. And if it wasn't real, then we won't have a shallower, larger earthquake. Now there's a 4.5 striking down below north central Turkey. What does it mean? Well, it means that there could be a shallow 5.5 to 6.5. And where would it strike? Well, most likely it would strike back into Greece, going into South Italy. So we get a little stretch here west of our deep earthquake. And where does it take us? Guys, it puts us between the swarm location in central Italy and the Ionia range here in Greece as the spot to be struck. It's a pretty small little stretch in there, but let's nail it down a little bit further. I would dare say it would go back to our swarm location in Italy, just because it hasn't stopped moving yet. Even though we could go into Greece. I don't want to say both locations will be hit. So when I'm leaning towards, if I have to lean towards one area to be struck as opposed to the other, it's going to be the one that moved 70 centimeters in the last earthquake. Rise and fall, 70 centimeters. Well, that spot's still moving. It just got struck by 4 today, 4.1. And now we have a supposed deep earthquake down below Turkey. Supposed deep earthquake? Well, if it occurred, it's going to put pressure to the west by northwest. It's pretty simple. But, again, translation time on this, the time it takes for the pressure to come up from down below and spread out across the underside of the plate and cause an earthquake is usually 2 days or less. So it's, 48 hours we have to watch to see if this earthquake is real. I mean, I can't believe that I have to, science. Is it real? Isn't it? I don't know. Multiple stations are detecting it, but we're not showing it. Well, why? Maybe Turkey doesn't have the equipment capable of detecting that far down. Maybe the European agency is only reporting official reported earthquakes from Turkey. Maybe that's why we don't have, maybe the USGS is dependent on the Europeans to see whether or not they report it, and then the USGS doesn't carry it either. Or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe the Europeans look to the USGS, and the USGS looks to the Turkish, and the Turkish don't have it. And they don't have it because they don't have the equipment to detect it. But then the area right to the west does have the equipment to detect it in Montenegro. Small little area, might be well financed, who knows? Or it was an erroneous earthquake detection, in which case nothing happened, and in which case we don't need to have a watch. That's what sucks. But the silver lining to this information here, guys, is that 3 different 5.0 or greater earthquakes were detected today, again like I said, in western India, up here in Siberia, and in Uzbekistan, in between the 2 locations, ironically. So Siberia hit up here, then Uzbekistan hit halfway, and then India hit down to the south, all 5s. Well, that lends in credence to that there's pressure coming over, and that we did see a deep earthquake over in Turkey as well. You don't get a whole cluster of 5s like that and not see pressure start transferring to the west down below. And that would be occurring right now. So, should we see a 4.5 on the map here now, south of the Black Sea, at 300 kilometers deep? I don't know. I can only report to you what other people are showing me and what it shows on the seismologist page. And on the seismologist page, it shows a deep 4.5 happening down below north central Turkey, south of the Black Sea. And if that's the case, shallow upwelling pressure will occur, and we're looking for 1 to 2 magnitudes larger to strike an area to the west by northwest. So, the area to the west is Greece. The area to the west northwest is Bosnia, west all the way into the swarm location in Italy. It's a fairly large location we have to watch this time. Again, we're talking about central Italy, where our swarm is, going right across the Adriatic Sea into Bosnia. So I'd say it's about a 200 to 300 mile stretch that we have to watch here. Okay? So again, going right across the Adriatic, I hope it would strike out at sea. And I hope it's just an erroneous earthquake and that, they're just, but I would rather not hope, I'd rather not guess, and I don't like the fact that we have 3 different 5s showing up across the Mideast, going into Russia, that aren't showing up on the feeds today from multiple different agencies. I don't like that at all. That to me says we're just not going to be reporting earthquakes that might coincide with an earthquake forecast. So speaking of earthquake forecast, the other areas that we warned, Illinois, you remember we warned Illinois last night, talked about the New Madrid seismic zone, the N-shaped bend, the fracking operations in south central Illinois, and how we had to watch for a 2 to 3.0 earthquake. Well, guys, it's been how many weeks? It's been several weeks, if not months, since we've seen any activity up here near Illinois. And right at the Illinois border with Missouri, in the middle of the New Madrid seismic zone, 60 miles south of the pumping operation I showed you last night, was struck by a 2.7. Again, after months of silence. We warned it last night. So, the other locations, look at the progression of earthquakes from the west coast to the Midwest. Look at that. So the edge of the craton is defined even with an earthquake up near Yellowstone. That Yellowstone magma chamber actually goes west from Wyoming all the way up into Montana, where you see this 2.3 on the map now. All right, so, there you go, guys. One other thing I'd like to show you really quick. The unthinkable happened today. A new series of deep earthquakes occurred here in the West Pacific. Now, one of the deep earthquakes was only reported by the Europeans, and you don't see it on the map here anymore. and it was right here in South Philippines, kind of at the center of the map right here. And it was raised high off the globe, just like these other two earthquakes that you see now. But we don't see that earthquake because it's now fallen off the European feed for the day. So I'm going to add in the earthquake from this past week that's also raised high off the globe, just to give you guys a visual representation of where the earthquake struck. And again, it's the earthquake over here on the left-hand side of the globe, or the west side of the globe, raised high off the map, symbolizing the earthquake that struck today that we don't see. So now that you've seen it, I'm going to take it off there and show you the most recent two earthquakes there. The whole West Pacific has moved. And I'm talking it's moved at a 4.6 to 4.7 level down below the whole plate. And this is going to put upwelling pressure up on the underside of the whole West Pacific. I know it sounds like it's pretty grandiose what I'm talking about here, but this will lead to a series of larger earthquakes that are going to be noteworthy this week. And when I say noteworthy, I mean a whole step above the largest of the bunch that we see here now. So here we are with a 5.6. We're going to definitely take it up into the mid-6 with the deep earthquakes that are going on now. Why mid-6? Well, deep 4.7 can cause a shallow 5.7 to 6.7. Deep 4.6, same thing, can cause a shallow 5.6 to 6.6. And we also had a deep 4.3 here that I told you about that you don't see. And that can cause a shallow 5.3 to 6.3. And since those three deep earthquakes occurred 6,000 miles apart from each other, 6,000 miles of plate is being uplifted right now. This is going to translate out to single larger earthquakes that are going to develop right in the middle, or the fulcrum points between where the deep earthquakes occurred. So take a look at where the deep earthquakes are and find our middle points. Well, our one middle point would be back here in Papua New Guinea. Another middle point would be right here in central Japan near Tokyo, in between all of these earthquakes here. And then the third middle point would actually go to the west and translate out towards Europe. So, what are we looking for over the next couple days? This is bad news. This is bad news, and I'm not trying to exaggerate. Anytime we see deep earthquakes like this, it leads to much larger earthquakes, because a whole area 6,000 miles across from Fiji up to Russia down to Philippines has moved in the past 24 hours. Oh, the whole underside of the plate has been uplifted, and it's now going to press out, and the pressure is going to fan out and find the weak spots, which are usually the middle points of our silent zones. So if you have a silent zone, the middle point is usually the spot that's struck by the pressure that's coming up from underneath, and it hits, and it tries to spread out, and it bends up the plate. I would dare say across the whole region, we might even see several new volcanic blasts. Because, and I'm not just talking about eruptions, I'm talking about large blasts occurring. Where? In the middle points of each of our silent zones. That does put Japan back in the mix for volcanic eruptions, not just earthquake. So this week, this next 7 days, is going to be tremendous, I believe, here in the West Pacific. It's going to fan out from the West Pacific, so it's going to affect the whole planet, not just the West Pacific. This will just be the first spot, and it kind of already is occurring with the 5.6. Okay, so with the 5.6, we talked about that last night, but it will also translate over to the east side of the plate. There will be compensation movement, and it will be heavy over on the East Pacific. It'll be just a step below what happens over here in the West Pacific. So if we see a series of 6s striking over here, then we'll see 5s striking in the East Pacific in our silent zones. If we see 7s striking over here in the West Pacific, then we will see 6s and 5s striking over here on the East Pacific. If we see 8s develop out here in the West Pacific, we will see 7s and possibly even 8s develop out down to the south, and 5s and 6s hit to the north off the west coast. So you hope it stays low. If it stays low, if it stays down to just 1 to 2 magnitudes larger, that's fine. But we have 3 different spots that are all upwelling pressure right now. Haven't seen this happen in several months' time, guys. As a matter of fact, we haven't seen this happen since the last round of 7.0 and upper 7s that struck. You guys remember. This goes back, what was it? It was right after I started the live stream. So what? Like start of the summer, right? So maybe May into June, we were, seeing this happen. Well, it's now happened again. Oh, and that back then spread out over to Europe as well and caused another round of earthquakes that happened. You guys may remember over in it was the South Mediterranean though. It was Algeria and Gibraltar that were struck by all those 5s and 6s. So that time they got lucky because the pressure transferred along the plate boundary due west and struck the plate boundary down there. Well, now it's happening in Italy. Again, it's same thing that happened in Gibraltar, same thing that happened in Greece is happening in Italy now. So this new round of pressure coming in is something we have to watch out for over the next 7 days, or now 6, let's just call it 6 days, because this technically is day 1 of these deep earthquakes. So, already on day 1, we have 5.6s and rare 5s spreading out far to the west, hitting Siberia and India. So, again, there we go. If you're in the U.S., guys, what did we talk about last night? We talked about a renewed swarm in Oklahoma and Kansas. Renewed swarm in Kansas has returned, same within Oklahoma. And it's striking nearby pumping operations, topping out at 4.0, 3.8. I think 3.8 there and a 3.1 there. Now, our 5.0 is again in the central portion of the state, and these new swarms are breaking out right back behind it within I'd say about 100 to 150 miles. So I told you, it shakes up the whole region. With an earthquake the size of the 5, it's going to cause swarms of similar sized large earthquakes, and it's going to 4s already, just like I told you last night. Said it would go to 4s. So, all right, that is what I've got for you. If anything else goes down, I will be back around in a little bit. Don't be scared about any of this, guys. Be prepared. And being prepared means, look, you got to look around the planet and understand what's going on. You got to understand the warning signs that come to us before large earthquakes strike. Deep earthquakes occur. Whether it's ask the people in Italy. Over in Italy, there was a deep 5.8 down below the Tyrrhenian Sea the day before the earthquake struck. And I issued a warning. And I said, hey, deep earthquake, 5.8, down below the Tyrrhenian Sea. This means watch to the north in the swarm location for a 6.8 to 7.8 earthquake. And then what struck? A 7.1, which they then downgraded to 6.1 and upgraded to 6.6 and downgraded to 6 and then upgraded to 6.1. It was a 7.1 to start out, and that's what all the news agencies, including RT, European, all reported 7.1 at first, and then they downgraded to 6. They ultimately went with 6.6. But there you go. 5.8 caused the 6.8 within 2 days, 1 day's time. The same thing happens everywhere else on the planet. And I want you to imagine, see these deep earthquakes, how they would connect down to the core of the earth. Both points would come down to a point where there's upwelling pressure coming up from deep down within the earth. And those points, again, are something that's worthy of study by professionals that I would dare say around the world need to drop what they're doing and try to figure out why these deep earthquakes are translating up from the plasma energy core of the earth. It's not a solid ball of metal, but that's a whole nother video for me to get into. Okay, so there we go. That's my update for right now. We will get into South America, Central America, everywhere else on the planet. Australia was struck, by the way. Several other places were struck. Coast of Taiwan struck again by a 5, 4.8. Southeast Taiwan, no less. That's the spot we warned. But, guys, again, much love to everybody. Thank you for sticking in here. And if you're in Italy, look, the check's in the mail again. You're going to see an increase. It's going to go back up. The swarm is going to increase within the next 48 hours. Okay? Oh, man, it never ends. It never freaking ends over here, does it? It will. I mean, it will sooner or later. I mean, this is, like I said, the worst case scenario with these deep earthquakes. I was hoping we wouldn't see any new deep earthquakes occur, which would allow for this area to settle down. But you already got 5, 3 of them that you don't see on any map, but you should. 3 of them, I would dare say the chances 3 different 5s being detected throughout this area, from Siberia to India, by 3 different agencies in 1 day's time, the chance of that being an error are slim, just by statistics. I'm just going science. I don't want to say, or somebody's flying in a jet. Even if they were flying in a jet, it would still take longer because they have to land and get out and bang the station. Or they got coordinated people going across 8,000 miles back in Siberia to cause a false earthquake. What else could it be? Maybe a meteor impact of some kind. Could be some kind of incoming asteroid, a chunk of a meteor explodes in the atmosphere and it's detected. I don't know. But I can tell you this. I don't like guessing. I would like for it to be reported, make the data available to the public, a way that we can review it and make the determination for ourselves. That's why I use the seismologist page overall, because if you just go check the feed and wait for them to report it to you, then you might be waiting until the cows come home. Meanwhile, we need to see what's going on, because that determines our next earthquakes to come. So, there it is. It is what it is. That's why I'm a researcher on the internet. The internets. Because getting your information from professionals means they are the gatekeeper. They are the one that is keeping that information and deciding what they're going to let out of the lock and dam. You guys ever been on a river where they control the water in a lock and dam, and there's somebody or some group or some government rule that controls that water flow? And if they open it up, well, it can flood you. And if they keep it closed, it can dry off the river. And so they want to control that information so that we're not flooded with seismic data. I get it. But at the same breath, we need that information. And it shouldn't be hidden on a back-end page. And I'm not blaming the European agency. The USGS does it much worse. Much worse. Oh, and I'm just into science, man. I just want to know. I'd rather know for myself and make the determination myself. And I'm sure the geologists wouldn't mind that, because they all want to make their own determinations too. I'm not saying that needs to supersede the public information that comes out to the general public, but I'm saying it needs to be at least made available in a map format that people can go click on and see what the reported earthquakes are versus the actual movement that's going on around the planet. Sometimes, look, not sometimes, a lot of the times, that page that I'm showing you, the seismological data, is more accurate than the data that's making it out to the public. So, again, don't dismiss it. And if we will know by tomorrow whether or not those mystery ghost earthquakes, what do we call them? Ghost earthquakes? The ghost of the seismological past? I don't know what it is. But the ghost earthquakes that are showing up on these feeds, we will know by tomorrow, because there will be a dramatic increase in earthquake activity in South Europe over tomorrow. By tomorrow night, we will know. And I don't like playing with people's lives like that. I don't. If you're in Italy, you don't want to have to sit there and worry for the next 2 days. Oh my God, did they not report an earthquake? Did they? I don't know. We have to go check the feed. What does Dutch say? Really? Let me get another sip of my coffee. Don't drink the earthquake juice, whatever you do. This is my earthquake juice, and it's caffeine and with a little bit of creamer in there, but not that kind of creamer. All right, guys. So anyways, I'm watching. I'm waiting to see if stuff gets reported, and I'm always looking to see if new earthquakes are reported. That's why I was shocked to see that deep Turkey earthquake not make it on the feeds. So 1 to 2 days, it's go time. It is go time with the earthquakes spreading out and unreported earthquakes. It's like an unreported storm. Or it's if a tree falls in the woods, does anybody hear it? Okay, it's an unreported storm coming your direction. It's dangerous to not know. And I'm really, really concerned that if the information is incorrect, or that it's, it didn't happen, something else happened, an explosion of nuke test from the Russians, who knows what could cause those 3 stations from Siberia down to India, across Uzbekistan, to all report 5s and have the rest of the world, the Western agencies, ignore it. It really makes me wonder, what was it? Something moved. 3 different agencies across 5,000 miles from Siberia to central India reported 5s today. US and Europeans, hush hush. I don't know. But this is why I do what I do. And I guess that's why you guys are tuned in, because you're curious and I want to know and you want to know, and we'll find out. Maybe the way we'll find out is by tomorrow if South Europe's being hit. Unfortunately, you're the test guinea pig on this one tonight, guys. Did something hit? Didn't it? The result of what comes to you will be the answer. Be safe, guys. Have an earthquake. Now you really need to have an earthquake plan. You really need one. If you live in one of the areas that I'm talking about. So, look around your house. Look at your cabinets. Look at the shelves. Look at your TV. If it's not mounted to the wall, and it's like mine, and you're sitting here and you can just move it with one finger on the stand and it starts to sway, you imagine when a 5 comes in and that thing flips over and comes down on you, or it comes down on your cat, or it comes down on your kids, and you're not prepared because you didn't make basic things around the house that cost a couple bucks, a couple euros to make the improvement to save it, to stop it from swaying, okay? Or your cabinets to stop them from flying open. It requires a small little latch. Just a few cents. a few cents to spend to save your entire glass collection and your china. Think about it. And we're talking about the increased threat for large earthquakes in the West Pacific. And when I say large, 1 to 2 magnitudes larger than our deep earthquakes. Speaking of deep earthquakes, just as I'm talking, they have now put a deeper earthquake on the map here, just a 2.6, and it looks like it's about 100 kilometers deep down here in Turkey. Not the earthquake we're talking about here, but just be aware, they did just put, they're capable of reporting. The Europeans are capable of detecting, I should say. Let's go just quickly get our information on this. I'll read it to you. It's coming from the Kandili Observatory and Earthquake Research Institute in Istanbul, Turkey. KAN. All right. So it's coming out of the Turkish agency. So Turkey is capable of reporting earthquakes at least 118 kilometers deep, because that's how deep this earthquake is. So the other earthquake is, well, twice as deep. All right, so it's happening more like at 300 something kilometers deep. Well, it's actually 2 times deeper. And, what can I say? They are capable of reporting semi-deep earthquakes. Whether or not they're capable of reporting fully deep earthquakes, I don't know. But there is got to be some reason that the Montenegro agency is reporting a 4.5 and Turkey is not. And that makes all the difference, man. It makes all the difference in the world. To me, as a forecaster, that information is almost priceless. All right. Peace out, guys. Much love.